It's the Plain and Simple Show. It's your boy Reckless Styles.
It's your boy Grammatic.
And we have our guest ST in the building, coming straight from Kansas City, Missouri.
Blame it on the ice or the slippers in the club. Brooklyn icons made me idolize the thugs. West side bangers made me trifle with the drugs.
With no further ado, tell us a little bit more about yourself, sir.
Get a little background and all of that.
ST, formerly known as Statyk. Forever known as Statyk, I guess. But ST it's the alternate persona, reality of Statyk. Statyk is a childhood nickname, superhero thing that
Underrated cartoon, by the way.
very underrated, man. was on some Black Power, civil rights movement stuff. I got the first 20 original comics of that.
Are you talking the old school, not the cartoon that came out
It's the cartoon is based on the comic.
Okay,
but,
okay.
Yeah, I got the first 20 comics as a present, actually, from somebody.
That's what's up.
But I got the nickname from the cartoon when I was younger. Just really, man, just focus on building an empire. It's what the goal is. Something that's built organically with people that I gel with, and I think can have lifelong partnerships with, and I think that's what an empire really is.
Got it. Yeah.
So can you explain a little bit? So you're from Kansas City. Were you born in Kansas City or you just grew up in Kansas City?
I grew up in Kansas City. I'm from, man, if I told you everywhere I lived, you'd be like, this kid has had a terrible childhood. I'll break it down for you real quick. I'll give a nugget to the world not many people know. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, St. Louis, Children's Mercy Hospital. Both of my parents are from the Boot Hill. I've lived in Berlin, Germany. When the wall was coming down, I was living there with Pops and Moms while he was in the service and they was doing their thing. Flipped to another Army base in Kansas for a few years. And in between that, Kansas City and Poplar Bluff, and then finally back to Kansas City. So I've been around a lot, man. But the longest, you want to hear something crazy, the longest amount of time I've ever spent in one place, a year from tour now, will be Colombia.
Crazy.
Really?
That's how much I've moved around. So that's kind of why I've been in Colombia so long, because it's right next to the Boot Hill and Kansas City.
It's in the middle.
It's in the middle.
Middle of the state, middle of the country.
And St. Louis. So it gives me that ability to get to all my family from right here and make it easy for them to get to me.
Nice. And I did not know you lived in Germany.
Yeah, man, that's I was 2-3 years old, so it's not like I have some amazing memories to share with y'all, but yeah, me and my older sister, we were the only two kids at that point, so me, her, mom, pops, when they was together,
And I actually want to give a compliment, man, because everybody that I've talked to that's met you has always said the same thing. This guy's been genuine since day one. Has not changed. I met him, 6-7 years ago at a local performance.
Okay.
Been cool ever since, man. Chop it up. Beat him in pool all the time. You know what I mean?
Gonna go there today.
Always gets love from all the local artists and just everybody in general, man. So how much do you appreciate hearing that?
Man, there are a few things in life that I really take to heart, man. If somebody tells me that I live like I got faith, or if somebody tells me that I come across as authentic and I don't change on them, them is two of the biggest things that I think I rock with. And one of those things I think is moving around a lot. You start to get to where you appreciate good people, and then you get to where you can spot them real easy too.
Right.
A good person like that, no matter where you at. So it means a lot, actually, because I assume that most of the people saying that, if not all, are people I feel exactly the same way about. So
it's funny because when I talk to ST, when I talk to Statyk, man, it's like you can tell he's reading you. He's not just listening to you. He's listening to your body language.
Yeah.
He's watching you. It's not one of those dudes that just oh, I hear what you're saying, let me keep doing what. No, he's really paying. So if you talk to this man, make sure you got your whole package put together. He can spot a fraud from a mile away. You know what I mean? But I want to talk to you a little bit about your music, man.
Okay.
Because like Brandon said at the beginning, it has been a little bit since we've heard something from you. But when I first moved here, you were one of the first artists that I ran into. And it was one of those things where I was like, dude's really out here with the bars. And so I want to know, like, what are you working on now? What are some of your, well, let's do it in chronological order. So where did you get your inspiration from? When did you start working on music? And then work into now what you're working on.
All right. Inspiration. Man, my mom sings.
Okay.
You know, so she used to sing all the time. Pops, he played bass. I think only for the church, man, when he was going to church. So like it's in the blood, it's in the DNA. My mom writes too, and my sister, a year older, is a poet. So it was bound to rub off on me. So I've always been into the bare bones, of like organic pieces that create music. Hip hop caught me. I don't know, man. I guess Bell Biv and DeVoe's Poison might be
That's
one.
real. That's real. That's real.
That might be one of the first ones that had me like, oh man, like I like this vibe, I like this feel. Coolio, Gangsta Paradise, and then that whole wave that came out the West, man. That's what got me into it. I was pretty young. Pac, you know, I'm a Pac and Biggie era kid too. So.
Right.
Who you think won that battle? Just, I mean,
All right.
The battle or
On wax.
on wax?
Keep it on wax.
Pac wins it, man. I'm a Biggie fan, but
Okay.
Pac wins it because of the first few bars of Hail Mary. That's how he gets them, man. Or Hit 'Em Up, my bad.
'Em Up.
The first few bars of Hit 'Em Up it's almost as good as having Nas having a sample of Pac saying "fuck Jay-Z." Like it is like right there. It's where you go from there.
Right.
Yeah.
So you drive a lot of your influences from the West. So who would you say your biggest, other than Pac? You said you were a Biggie fan though, so I guess kind of explain how that works.
Well, Pac and Biggie are East Coast cats.
From Baltimore, right?
Baltimore,
Yeah.
and then through New York and Brooklyn, all that. Like, so I'm an East Coast person at heart. Like Nas is what made. That's where my pen game comes from.
Okay.
Like I started loving music because of what I was hearing out of the West Coast and stuff like that. But I became a real writer, I think, when I got into It Was Written. Pac,
Okay. Yeah,
by
Nas.
Nas, yes sir. And yeah, that's definitely what inspired the pen. Later on, Cassidy.
everybody, I think everybody on the show has given props to Cassidy.
Cannot.
Right.
Like, he inspired me with the bar, like the punchlines, man. Like, for real.
Dude was so clever, man. He'll make you question whether or not you were supposed to be rapping, man. He'll say some shit that you know. Like, my first thought is, how could I have thought of it? And I never find myself in a place
Right.
where I would have came to that punch. And it was,
Yeah.
yeah.
Didn't he?
He's definitely-
He battled himself on one of the tracks, I believe.
Yes,
On
sir.
the- on the Barry
The
Age
Problem
Reese
versus
story, right?
well, before
Problem
that,
versus Hustler, I think.
the Hustle versus the Problem.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did that before Barry. What was the name of that project?
Barry Reese, maybe.
No, it was the Hustle, I think.
Bars. I think it
man.
might have been the Hustle.
Oh, gotcha.
Because he had the two that came out. I think it was like back to back. The Problem came out, then the Hustler came out, and
Yeah.
on one of those, that track was on there. But so okay, so let's talk about your first moments in music. So what were some of the first, I guess, days of you recording or writing actual songs, or like when did you really start? What was the beginnings of Statyk at that time
All right,
as
so
an artist?
the nickname came in like 8th grade. First verse I ever wrote that was my own, because when I was young I was rewriting like Pac and them and just trying to rap it back to my fam. The first verse I ever wrote was that same year, and it was because a teacher told me to do a poetry project, and I was like, man, I might as well just rap. This is before I even understood that poetry and rap were the same. And so I did a little stupid punchline type poetry thing. But the next year, high school, I run into a cat and some crazy coincidence universe type things. And we're friends to this day. Actually, I call him my brother more than anything. Shout out to David, HF Instrumentals, formerly known as Empty. Run into this cat in high school. Dude says he raps. And I'm like, well, rap, man. Dude, his flow was crazy fast. Like, he rivaled Twister, he rivaled Tech at that time, and we were 14. And he just rapping it. And I didn't hear nothing but the first 6 words out of his mouth. It's the only thing I heard, and he was just going. And I was like, man, you ain't said shit. You just mumbling, man.
Right.
Pulled out the paper on me, slowed it down, and then, yeah, he was ill with it. and he had set up at 14. I'm gonna say this puts us to like 2002. This cat was so innovative, man, that he had a studio set up and was putting music on CDs before we finished that school year out. So he inspired me to actually take it to the next level. First verse I wrote was for his studio, for a track with him. Yeah.
And so I know that you've been on a little bit of a hiatus recently. So what are we expecting from ST moving forward? Because we haven't heard anything, and I haven't heard anything in probably 3 years, bro.
Man, expect another hiatus at some point because they are so nice. They are so nice. You know, I always felt that if I stepped away, because from about freshman year until about 2010, I hadn't stopped like pushing forward. Like we was in school, did the town shows. We was selling CDs, you know, at the mall. And then once school was over, kept doing it. I took a break after, you know, dealing with some medical stuff. But other than that, never really took a break. So I took the break, and I like it, but I do plan on putting some music out. This year, you get one single out of me, maybe two. Okay. You know, one of them is going to be like a Dave Chappelle blow the dust off the shelf thing with
right,
it.
Yeah. Soundbite type deal?
You said what?
Soundbite type deal, or?
No, he just means in the approach.
Oh,
like
okay,
the same way
you.
that Dave Chappelle came back and did the Netflix joint.
Got you.
That's the same kind of feeling you're going to get.
One of the two is going to be an old single. Crazy enough, it's the single I recorded with you.
Oh, word?
Yeah, word. I never put it out. I don't know if you've noticed, but that's never been put out.
That's crazy. That was back in what, 2014? Man,
yeah, it's a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
That's going to drop. Do whatever I think it was supposed to do, and then I'll give something else that's more to the heart, because that's more enjoy yourself type music. But mostly this year, you're gonna see a lot of a young lady called Original Lyrics at a SME, and she's independent, and you know we partner up with her. Talented girl, you know what I mean? She was president of poetry at Stevens College. She's Kansas City based. She's back in KC now, and I've been trying to get her to do music since I met her about 5 years ago, and she's just come around to where she's ready now.
Word.
Yeah.
That's what's up. We're gonna have to take a quick break, y'all. We had 2 cameras die on us, so we'll be right back with some more from ST. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Grammatic.
It's your boy Reckless Styles.
And we're back with ST in the building. We just got through talking a little bit about his background, his influences, his music, what we got coming from him and his camp. Now we want to get into a little bit about his Kansas City knowledge and what he knows about the Kansas City scene. So, ST, let's start with just spill it out, man. How do you feel about Kansas City music? Where's Kansas City music going?
It's grown a lot, man. There was a point where we got this segment called Underground Heat in KC, and cats was breaking into mainstream radio, and you would hear a song and you would think that's cool that we played on the radio, but that ain't gonna put a song. And it's got to the point now where I'll be bumping Underground Heat when I'm in the city, and I can't tell if they from KC or they from the industry. So the town is really putting on right now, really putting on. Yeah.
So like, with that in mind, I guess from a lot of people who don't know Kansas City music intimately, they probably assume that it's just tech, right? So how does tech fit into the grander scheme of Kansas City music? Is there much more to that, you know what I mean, that people just don't know about, or is it something where it's still just so early in its stages and it's still growing outside of what he's been able to accomplish?
I'm also want to add Rich the Factor.
Okay, and Rich the Factor. Shout out to Rich the Factor.
He's an orchestrator, man. Like, tech is silently helping Kansas City rise. Speaking of Underground Heat, he does the intro to that show. Him, Chris Calico, and one more cat, the 816 boys. They do the intro to Underground Heat. So he's really an orchestrator. He's really showing love to the city. I remember growing up and always being like, man, tech ain't signing nobody out the city. Why we out here still waiting? And then just over the last year, you saw him throw a chain to 2 or 3 cats. It's just right out the city, man. Shout out to JLB Hood. Yeah, got his chain thrown to him. So it's cool to see him back in the city. His headquarters in the city. He built a distribution center. So he's really just an orchestrator. He's looking at Kansas City being a hub for music and hip hop 10, 20, 30 years from now.
Right. So how does that? Okay, so you were talking about Kansas City being a hub for hip hop, and our mission is to try to bring a spotlight onto Midwest music as a whole. So how does Kansas City play into the framework of Midwest representation? Is Kansas City going to be the nexus of that? Is it going to be the centerpiece, or is Kansas City going to be more of a outlet?
I think Kansas City will be to hip hop. I don't even want to say what St. Louis was when Nelly blew up, because there wasn't too many cats that came behind Nelly.
Right.
I think Kansas City could be the Brooklyn of Missouri.
That's a nice way to put it.
Okay. Do you think that could be, in your experience with the artists that you've seen come out of there and the traction that some people have been able to attain in Kansas City, do you think that when you say the Brooklyn of Missouri, do you think it's going to actually reach the level of Brooklyn in hip hop, or is it going to be more of a regional thing?
I think in my lifetime I'll see Kansas City manifest into the Brooklyn of Missouri in my lifetime. Whether that's 10 years or 30 years from now, I don't know yet. But I definitely believe it will be, just because of the framework that's being laid right now. Shout out to Statyk P and Indie Ground, putting in a lot of work on the underground. He's making sure that if you hustle, if you put in the work, if you put out good music, there's an outlet for it. 8 to 5 Studios, Uptown Theater. There's a poetry and open mics, and not just these open mics where everybody in the city's trying to come and do some trash music, where you got core hip hop fans that's starting to be regulars to come see cats perform.
How would you describe the sound of Kansas City music? And what's your thought on the stereotype of that everybody sounds the same from Kansas City?
I think at one point we did. Most stereotypes start from, the types all being in stereo, the same thing around you. So at one point I think we did. I'm fortunately one of the cats that, when I started, my goal was to not sound like everybody.
Right.
So it was easy for me to stand out. And I think a lot of cats have gotten the confidence to not sound like Rich. There's never really been somebody who sounded like Tech that gained traction, but to not sound like Tech. K Stylus, he came out with the booty music, and booty music was being done, but I don't think anyone did it like Stylus did.
I know he's from Kansas City.
Yeah. Ron. I mean, yeah. It's cats up there that's got original flows to them. It's cats up there that sound like everybody else in the industry right now, which I think is a level that has to be hit for any city to become a hub. You're going to have cats that sound like, Tory Lanez. You're going to have cats that sound like Migos coming up. And then they'll find a blend to where they can be able to reach into the industry, but also be original at the same time. So, and I think that's where we're at now. People are finding that perfect mix of having a more mass appeal, but also being original.
Originality goes a long way in music, let alone anything. So we definitely want to ask you, who is in your Mount Rushmore of the Midwest?
You know what? 5-10 years ago, that'd be a harder question than it is now. Because at this point, Midwest, you've got to give it to Tech. You got to give a spot. You got to give a spot to Nelly. You have to give a spot to Nelly.
Why do you have to give a spot
Hold
to
on,
Nelly?
let him finish.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm not.
M, that's a Wyandotte County boy. That's a Kansas boy. Let's see, number 4.
The last one's always the hardest.
Oh, it's hard.
We'll let you get a runner-up, too.
Okay. That helps out a little bit. Number 4. Hip-hop. You know what? I'm gonna just put myself there. That's I will fill the last spot on the Rushmore.
Right on.
Yeah. And I will live up to that for everybody watch. I'll make sure that you go, okay, he earned it at one point. So yeah. And runner-up, I'll give Rich a factor, because his influence on Kansas City music is rival to none. Like Tech's influence on Kansas City rappers doesn't reach what Rich is
Really?
done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rich is the truth, man. Rich is like the mayor, you know, if Tech's the president.
I think, man, it was really like growing up. Him, like Tech. I think this was around the Fat Tone era, right? Like, didn't they come out around the same time?
I don't know Fat Tone.
You know Fat Tone?
Rich and Tech been doing it since ever. Like Rich and Tech were doing it before I was allowed to even sneak and listen to their music. So that's how long they've been around. Tech used to live, or his grandma lived like at 50 something. You know what I mean? And it was a few blocks from my bus stop. And Tech was doing it when I was 6th or 7th grade. You know, selling tapes out the trunk. And apparently he had been
Speaking
in
of
it.
old Tech, bro, I got a bone to pick with dude. I went to a Tech concert, and the whole time I was saying, man, play Mitch Bade. Man, play Mitch
Bruh,
Bade.
that was a classic.
He does not do Mitch Bade anymore. Tech, from me, from my soul to you, please perform Mitch Bade at your concerts. That song is like the hardest song in existence.
Shout out to Tech, man. He actually, it was a Halloween party, like the concert.
Yeah, that's
Were you
why I
there?
was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually shook hands with Tech. Like, didn't know it was Tech. He had the mask on, and then he went to the bar and took it off. I was like, yo, that was Tech 9, bro. Like,
Mask off.
yeah, man. So shout out to Tech, man.
I do have also another bone to pick. I got problems with people, I guess, today. Your Mount Rushmore, you didn't say Kanye, man.
Kanye, no comment. Like,
You didn't give no love to the Shy, man.
I didn't give no love to the shot, but you know what? I'm Kansas City, man.
That's real.
You know, I'm a Kansas City man, but they definitely, I got influence from them, man. Like Common, if you ranking MCs and he's not in your top 10, like your top 10 has probably got too many recent rappers in it. That's how
real.
I feel.
so you put comment in the top 10?
Yeah, it gotta be, man.
You,
Hey, man, that's for another
Yeah.
bigger conversation,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Look, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, man. And we appreciate y'all watching. We'll see y'all next week. It's your boy Grammatic,
It's your boy Record Styles.
ST.
and this is Plain and Simple.
Yeah.